Hello my dear students, welcome to our channel Rajesh Biology and I am Rajesh MSc Zoology. Today our topic is uterus. So we already completed about the female reproductive system parts like primary sex organs and fallopian tubes. They are paired structures. Come to the uterus. Uterus is a single. Uterus is what? It is single. I'll write here. And how it look like? It look like inverted pear shaped. It look like how? It is inverted pear shaped structure. So you should know what is pear shape means. Pear shape means like this. It is the pear fruit. Okay. If it is inverted, it look like the uterus. Uterus look like the inverted pear shaped structure. Okay. Where it is located? As you already know, all the reproductive organs present at the pelvic region. It is present in the pelvic region. In pelvic region, where it is located? It is located between the urinary bladder. It is located between the urinary bladder and rectum. Between the urinary bladder and rectum it is presented. How it look like? It is an inverted pear shaped structure. And this is a highly vascular. Why it is highly vascular? If ova get fertilized, if ovum get fertilized, it should be implanted in the uterus only. If it get implanted in the uterus, it should get nourishment from the uterus. So to give the nourishment to the baby, to the embryo, it should be vascular. It is highly vascular. Okay, that means it is the site of implantation and the development of the fetus. And it is muscular. Why it is muscular? Even though the ova is not fertilized, during at the time of the menstrual flow, the endometrium undergo contractions to shed off and to send that endometrial wall out. It shows the peristaltic movements. To show the peristaltic movements at the time of menstrual flow and at the time of copulation, when the male reproductive organ, that means if the male releases the sperm cells, prostaglandins are also present in the semen, as we already discussed in the previous class. That prostaglandins stimulate the uterine wall to allow the sperm cells. So it directs towards the ova. The sperm cells are directed towards the ova with the help of these muscular movements. And not only that, after the gestation, 9 months of gestation, baby development, at the time of the parturition, delivery, at the time of the parturition, this muscular movements helps to push the baby out from the uterus. That's why it is muscular, highly vascular, and it is stretchable. It look like a balloon with two horns. It look like how? It look like the balloon with two horns. Like this. And balloon, if it is like this, that means it's a lemon shape, lemon sized. Even though it is a lemon sized, when the baby get implanted, when the blastocyst get implanted and the fetus develops, this lemon sized balloon shaped uterus becomes a watermelon sized big structure. Then only we can born from the mother's womb, because other name of the uterus is womb. Then only we can born from the mother's womb because it is stretchable. That's why a simple zygote get implanted in the form of blastocyst. That is also microscopic. And later it will develop into the completely developed fetus. So it is stretchable. So these are the characters of the uterus. So first we will discuss about where the uterus is exactly located. It is present between the urinary bladder and the rectum. Imagine as it is the urinary bladder. And it is what? rectum. It is the urinary bladder, and from here it is what? Urethra. And it is the rectum, and it is anus. In between the urinary bladder and the rectum, there is a inverted pear-shaped and muscular, highly vascular structure, that is uterus. And of course here it is a narrow cavity cervix. From there is a long tube, that is vagina. So this is the position of the uterus. Red color is the uterus. Uterus is present between the urinary bladder and the rectum. So it is like this. Female reproductive system, if you observe the diagram also, it is present between the urinary bladder and the rectum. It is inverted pear-shaped structure. Other name of the uterus is what? Womb. Not only that, this uterus is present in the pelvic region with the help of some ligaments and some tissues. A double fold peritoneum, very important. A double fold peritoneum which attaches the uterus with the abdominal wall. A double fold peritoneum which attaches the uterus with the abdominal wall is called mesometrium. It is called what? Mesometrium. As you already know, like every organ is covered by a double fold peritoneal layer in coelomate animals, and it is also eucoelomate. This type of layer you can observe in ovaries also, out of the ovary, mesovarium. Fallopian tubes also attached with the abdominal wall, mesosalpinx. And here it is mesometrium. Okay, mesometrium. Now, the length of the uterus. The length of the uterus, of course, it is not so important bit. You should know, but 3 inches. It is not more, it is not so big, but it get stretch. It is distensible, it can stretch. Okay, 3 inches only. And it is the wider part of the uterus. This wider part width is 2 inches. Okay, so 2 inches width, 3 inches length it has, but it can extend when the blastocyst get implanted and it undergoes some development. Depending upon the size of the embryo, it is also get stretched. Of course, after the paturation, it comes to its normal position within 2 months, within 1.5 months, like that. Okay, so this is the uterus position. Now we'll discuss about parts of the uterus. Uterus contains 3 parts mainly. That is fundus, corpus, and cervix. What is fundus, what is corpus, and what is cervix? We will discuss now. So first I'll erase this and I'll draw here one diagram. This is the female reproductive system. This is the fundus. This is the uterus structure. So it is the uterus structure. Of course, both sides of the uterus there is a fallopian tubes like this, like a balloon. If the balloon have the horns, that horns are the fallopian tubes, and the middle balloon is the uterus. And yes, it is the best example for the uterus. Just imagine there is a balloon, and the balloon size, shape, and everything is very small. If we send some amount of air into that, okay, what happened? That balloon size increases depending upon the amount of the air. So it is also like that. If the embryo get implanted, blastocyst get implanted, depending upon the size of the embryo, it will stretches. Okay, and it becomes bigger in size. After the delivery, if you remove the air from the balloon, it is also comes to the normal position. So this is also just like a balloon with two horns. Okay, and it is the opening of the balloon, cervix, birth canal. Okay, now come to the parts of the uterus. It has the wider part, that is fundus. Remember, wherever you find this type of structure, that is the fundus. You can get the type of structure in digestive system also. Stomach. This is called fundus in stomach. Fundus. Same word, fundus. A wider portion. It look like a mountain. So this wider portion of the uterus is called what? Fundus. And main body is called corpus. Where you find the word corpus? Corpus callosum, corpus spongiosum, corpora cavernosa, corpus luteum. Like this you may hear the corpus are everywhere. In medical terminology, okay, in science terminology, corpus means body. Okay, corpus luteum. Corpus means body. Lutea means yellow color body. Corpus luteum. So like that, here corpus means body. Fundus, corpus, and cervix. Cervix is very narrow. That's why I can't write cervix here. That's why I write outside of the uterus. Cervix is the narrower part. Okay. So these are the main three parts of the uterus. And now we will discuss about the layers of the uterus. Layers of the uterus. I'll erase this one. There is 3 layers. How many layers are there? 3. The outermost perimetrium. I'll draw with a blue color sketch, blue color chalk piece. This is what? Perimetrium. Peri means around. Metrium, uterus. Okay. Outermost layer is perimetrium. The main function is protection. Of course, it is thin membrane. Even though it is thin membrane, it is present outside the uterus. So obviously the function is protection. Okay. Next, the middle thick muscular layer. So it is called myometrium. Myometrium. Myo means muscle. Myoglobin, the hemoglobin type of thing which is present in the red muscle fibers. Myoglobin. Okay. Myosin, myofibril. Myo means muscles. Myometrium, which is filled with the muscles. Which type of muscles? Smooth muscles. But it is thick. It is a thick myometrium which is formed by the smooth muscles. And last but not least, very important part, very important layer of the uterus, that is endometrium, glandular, innermost glandular endometrium. It is what? Endometrium. Endometrium is glandular. And highly vascular, which undergoes cyclical changes during the menstrual cycle. At the time of menstrual cycle, this endometrium only get ruptured and comes out. Of course, not the entire endometrium, the distal part, innermost part. So I'll give some red lining here. This much part only get ruptured and washed out. They shed out. Okay. So that is called decidua basalis. Of course, you will learn about the decidua basalis and everything in your further classes. But for this IPE, for this NEET examination, NEET UG examination, this is sufficient. Endometrium undergo cyclical changes at the time of menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle, during the time of the menstrual cycle, endometrium undergoes cyclical changes and it shed out if the ova is not yet fertilized. If the ova get fertilized, that blastocyst get implanted in the endometrium. So it is glandular and vascular. Vascular, okay, we already discussed, to give the nourishment. Then why it is glandular? Glandular. Endometrium releases some hormones which support the development of the fetus and which maintains the health of the uterus. Uterus health is very important because that is the shelter for the fetus. That is the shelter of the fetus. Okay, so it is glandular, vascular, and it undergoes cyclical changes. Endometrium, myometrium, perimetrium. And uterus is the site where the implantation takes place. Uterus is the site where the gestation takes place, where the embryo gets developed. And uterus is the reason, the muscle layer for the pacturation, because every time previous also, that means before the development of our countries also, pacturations are there in a natural method, because uterus itself send the baby out, the fully developed fetus. Pacturation takes place because of the uterus muscle contractions. It shows vigorous contractions with the stimulation of the muscle layer. Okay, so muscle layer helps in the pacturation. It shows peristaltic movements, and endometrium helps in the implantation and development. Perimetrium helps in the protection. This is the uterus main body. Now come to here, cervix. Uterus opens into the vagina. Uterus opens into the vagina through a narrow part. This narrower tube part structure is called what? Cervix. The gap which is present in the cervix, this gap is called cervical canal. Cervical canal. It is very narrow. It is very, very narrow. Okay, and it get dilated at the time of the pacturation. If it is very much narrow like this, at the time of pacturation it look like this. That means it get extended, and it allow the baby pacturation. It allow the delivery of the baby. When the baby moves through the cervix, mother get labor pains which we can't explain in our normal terminology. In our literature also there is no such words to explain the pain of the mother at the time of the delivery. So this is very narrow. Through this narrow canal baby birth takes place. That's why cervical canal along with the vagina, once the baby cross the cervix, that is the birth of the baby. That's why the cervix with vagina is called birth canal. It is called what? Birth canal. Cervical canal with the vagina together called birth canal. Once the baby crosses the uterus, once the baby crosses the cervix, that means baby delivery takes place. That is the birth canal. Through the birth canal baby delivers out. So this is about the uterus. Just revise once. Uterus is a very important part where the implantation takes place, and the organ which undergoes cyclical changes at the time of menstrual cycle and everything. And uterus is present between the urinary bladder and the rectum, and it is inverted pear-shaped structure. It is attached with the abdominal wall with the help of double fold peritoneum called mesometrium, and it has the three main parts: fundus, corpus, cervix. The wider portion of the uterus is called fundus, the main body corpus, and the narrower portion, posterior portion, through which uterus opens into the vagina is called cervix. And uterus has three layers: outermost perimetrium for protection, middle myometrium for contractions, and innermost endometrium to support the development of the baby, endometrium. And yes, along with the cervix with the vagina together called birth canal or cervical canal. So this is about the uterus. and we'll discuss about the vagina and vulva both in the next class. That is external genitalia also we'll discuss in the next class. Later we'll discuss about the glands, axillary glands of the female reproductive system. Thank you.